Hey, what's up, Yantaraj? You are on with Yan.
Hey, what's up, Yantaraj? Welcome back to the next episode of On with Yan. Happy 2024, everybody. I know everybody's out here talking about goals and resolutions. I just want to quickly say that whatever you decide to go for, go after, try to do it in small pieces so that way it's a little more sustainable. Getting back into the workout, getting back into the swing of productivity in the new year sometimes comes with apprehension, and it comes with maybe being too scared to do it. But if you just do it a little bit at a time, if you just start with a nice goal, it's way better than going hard the first week you're back in the gym and then not going back at all. So it's an important thing to me to say, also for myself to hear, is that whatever you are telling yourself inside and not out loud, it's important that you follow through with it, because sometimes when we say these things to ourselves internally, there's no commitment and there's no outward follow through because of, well, was it real? I didn't really say it out loud. I didn't promise. I didn't say this or that. So if I say I'm going to go to the gym 3 days a week, but I only go once, well, I didn't really, specify that with anybody, so whatever. So it's important that whatever you say to yourself internally, you hold yourself accountable to. And I have been really thinking about that a little. And anytime I try to start something or I want to do something, I always, and I'm ready to go for it. I'm ready to go. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going for it. So every time I'm in that mentality, I always make sure I tell Ryan, because I know he'll hold me accountable for it. And you should find people in your life that you could say those things to, so they can make sure they check in with you. So if you are having New Year resolutions for yourself, and maybe it's eating healthier, going to the gym, spending more time with your family, whatever it might be, I think it's important that we don't just let it sit in our head and we say it out loud, because it creates a commitment for yourself. It makes it more serious to you, but it also gives somebody else a chance to help you through something. And even though it might sound minute, as we all know, when we talk to ourselves internally, it doesn't make it as real as when you write it down, tell somebody, have a team that does it with you, because that's what's going to pull you through and pull you out. So I say all that to say, whatever New Year resolutions that you might have, I think it would be cool to at least think about maybe sharing those things with people around you. It's so easy to talk to ourselves, and sometimes this doesn't even have anything to do with New Year's resolutions, but it's so simple to talk inside to yourself internally and then not really go for it, because you didn't make it a goal out loud, you didn't write it down, and you didn't say anything to anybody. So it makes it pretty easy to be like, well, it's alright. So with your New Year resolutions, whatever they might be, make sure whatever you decide to do, you follow through so that you can get to the other side of that. And by the way, I'm really not a fan of New Year's resolutions. I really feel like if you want to be healthier, be better, read more, I don't think you need the new year to help you do that. I know people like fresh starts, but it also reminds me of when people eat poorly in the morning, and then they're like, whatever, who cares, the day's ruined. And then they just eat that same way the rest of the day. It's kind of the same thing to me. You're gonna sway sometimes from what you've set out to do, because that's what happens, and life happens, and things get in the way. And, if I go to the gym 5 days a week, but something happens and I can't go, so that's okay. Maybe I go 4 days a week, but I'm right back at it the next week. So I think it's important that the name of the thing, the New Year resolutions, or you gotta do this, it's the new year, new me. It shouldn't be new year, new me. It should be new year, better me. But it takes that year prior to start working towards that, continuously moving on and forward. And I think sometimes we get caught up in New Year resolutions, and I'm doing it for a week, and I go 100%, and then 2 days later, it's, I went pretty good for 2 weeks. Like, it's all good. And I think it was either yesterday or today that was the day of quitters. And that's when people stop their New Year's resolutions. So when you listen to this, if you're still doing what you set out to do, you've passed that benchmark. So that's pretty cool. Congratulations. But otherwise, I think it's important to, when you set a goal or something like that for yourself that you're trying to improve yourself on, and really doesn't matter what it is, I think it's important that it's not just an internal conversation. I think it's important that you involve some people in that conversation so people can help you move past the starting point, because sometimes starting something out like that is so tough. And I'll say for myself, like, I did not exercise much throughout the 2-week break that we had from the dojo, and just getting back to movement. And I love movement. I feel like movement is the best type of medicine, and just getting back to movement, I think starting is the toughest part, because you get so comfortable just not doing that you're like, it's okay, like, whatever, well, I did it yesterday, like, I'm not in the habit, whatever. And even for myself, like, it was nice to have Ryan say something like, hey, are you gonna do it today? And not in a way that makes you feel like you're not doing enough, but in a way that it's more of a check-in to say, hey, you might feel better if you just do this. And sometimes you need that guidance. And I think it's easy to really take that maybe in a wrong tone of voice, especially from a significant other, especially if it has something to do with exercise. But if you maybe look at it from a different perspective, it might help you understand that they're just trying to help you do what you said you would do. And for me, that's been helpful to me, because I'm like, okay, yeah, like, he's right. I said I was going to do it. I did it yesterday, like, I better go do it today. And then you slowly start to get in the habit of going back to whatever I was doing prior, or for other people, what they're trying to build a habit of. And we talk about the 1% of 1% better each day, and it's you do something every day to make yourself better or make life better for you, and you do it every single day, and that 1% is enough, because it adds up by the end of the year. But the 1% could also be 1% worse every day. So if I take my example, and this day I walk or I run 1% better, I do it the next day, I do it the day after that, I do it 5 days in a row, right? I'm consistently staying on the path that's going to move me forward to a healthier tomorrow. If I take those same 5 days and I lay on the couch instead, or do something that's not as productive, or that doesn't help me, I'm going 5% further from that same health and wellness and quality of life. So I think it's important to think about that 1% and not just, it's either I'm not moving anywhere or I'm getting better. Because no, it's either you're getting worse or you're getting better. There's no I'm staying the same. And it might feel like that because nothing is going on right in that moment, in that second, in that time frame. However, over time is when you'll see that result. And it fakes you out a bit, because you don't eat something bad one day and gain 30 pounds the same night or the following day. Those things get added on as time goes. I lay on the couch those 5 days. I eat snacks those 5 days. I don't move those 5 days. By the end of the 5th day, I'm not going to be 30 pounds heavier. But 3 months of that, and I'm way worse than I was. So it's not that you're staying the same. It's you're consistently either getting better or you're getting worse. So with New Year resolutions that you might be implementing for yourself, find ways to not go 100% right when you start. Not go 1,000% and jump both feet in, and I'm going to the gym 5 days. I'm reading on top of that, and I'm drinking water, and I'm this and I'm that. It's not sustainable. You didn't build one habit and then add on to it. You're trying to start 5 different habits all at once, which isn't sustainable. You have to think about doing all these things all the time. You have to start with the one thing, and then you add on. So with whatever New Year resolutions you have, think about it as a 1% instead of 100%. And then that 1%, that's how you add on and you add on and you do it consistently. And it's all about that consistency, really. Is I start drinking water, then I do it for 3 days in a row, then maybe I do it for a week and 2 weeks, and okay, that's pretty easy for me. Can I now increase a little bit of water intake? And finding spots and moments throughout your day where you can add those things on, where it's not going to take a ton of time out of your day, it's not going to take a ton of brain power, and it's not going to take a ton of maneuvering everything around so that way you can do this new thing. Because that's not sustainable either. And they talk about adding habits on to something that you already do in Atomic Habits, which is a really nice book about how to build habits. And it's a very simple, quick read. But one of the things that is a big thing is adding new habits on, or good habits, to things that you already do. So for me, for example, if I ever have driving time, I try to drink my water during that driving time because I don't have to do anything else besides drive. I know if I'm sitting, I can just drink it. I know I have a goal, like if I get in the car, that's my start time. Whenever I arrive at my destination, that's my end time. So if I didn't or was not able to drink my water throughout the day up until that point, I make sure that when I get in the car and by the time I arrive, my water is finished. And that's a super simple thing, and it's kind of like, oh wow, like great. But it's implementing those things over time that becomes great. It's making sure you know how to do things in the manner that don't require you to change your entire routine, change your entire lifestyle, change your entire and flip 180 from what you were doing, because it's not sustainable to do that right away. So I say all of that to say, whenever you want to start New Year's resolutions, or even if it's in the middle of the year and you're like, hey, I'm done with this, I don't like this, start with one thing. One small thing. Do that a few days. Add on. And you have to be specific. I talk to people at the dojo all the time when we give them a sheet for their white belt that they have to complete and bring back. And for the most part, it's like adult students, they have to do this in this manner. And they have to do 3 things that are going to make them better. And anytime I have a conversation, it's always super vague. Like, oh, I should spend more time with family, or drink water, walk my dog, clean up. But the thing about doing something like that is you have to be specific. So if I say, I just want to drink more water, well, what does more water mean? I don't know what that means. You have to say, okay, for the next 4 days, I'm going to drink 20 ounces of water twice a day or once a day, wherever you're starting at. But you have to be specific so that way you can measure whether or not you completed that. Because if you aimlessly just say, I want to drink more water or walk my dog or whatever, you might be getting faked out by drinking 2 glasses and thinking you drank enough water for that day. So all of that goes to say the 1% has to be monitored as well. It can't be vague. So the great thing about going to the gym is okay, I went there, check mark. I went there, check mark. And if that's your New Year resolution, great. But make sure you can measure something that you're doing so that you can ensure you're being successful. And don't put so much pressure on yourself to just go and change all of these things and change your lifestyle all in one day. You're setting yourself up for not being able to complete that, and then it goes into, then I can't do it, and I'm not good enough, I tried. But you have to try small. You have to raise the bar slightly, okay, I raise it off the ground 3 inches. I hop over that. Good, I'm good. I raise it a little more. I hop over that. Okay, I'm good. That's how you build your habit back up. Or if you don't have one, that's how you build a habit. You can't just put it at your chest level and try to hop that. It's not going to work. And it's going to crush your confidence level of, I guess I'm not good enough. I don't think I can do it. I knew I couldn't do it. Well, that just showed me I can't do it. But you have to start small to build your confidence too. So that way you can say, okay, like I can drink that water. I can go to that gym that many days. I can show up to my karate class. I can make sure I do this. But you got to go small. You have to go small, one, to build the habit and to build it so you don't have to think about it. But two, you have to build your confidence to be able to show yourself that you can do it. And it just takes a little bit of time. So if you pass that quitter's day, which, by the way, I'm going to look that up right now to be accurate and specific. Ooh, I was wrong. This Friday, when the podcast comes out, January 12th, is what's known as Quitter's Day, the day most are likely to give up on their New Year's resolutions. So, if you have made it this far to Friday, great job. I'm so happy for you. I hope you can continue on that. I hope everything I just said, if you've been on and off and kind of thinking and feeling down about being able to sustain what you've started, maybe look it over and maybe take a few steps back and say, okay, like maybe that was too much all at once. It's okay to move backwards so that you can propel forward. It's okay to reanalyze, move backwards so that you can move forward as you change what you're doing. All of that is okay. So as you work on these and you take a look at what you're doing, I hope that this was a valuable conversation for you. I hope that as you're continuing to build good habits, and habits can be bad, so maybe sometimes it's not about building good habits, it's sometimes about cutting bad habits away. Because that 1% works both ways. So sometimes that bad habit, you just have to learn how to stop. Smoking is a great example. I've never been a smoker, so I don't know how tough this may be. But that habit is the 1% the opposite way. So for that one, it's more about learning how to stop that habit instead of doing something else, right? And sometimes it's what it's all about is cutting out the bad habits too, so that you can add on the good habits after. Sometimes it's about cutting out the junk food first, and then also implementing movement and better nutrition for yourself. So sometimes it's just about also evaluating and reevaluating the habits that you currently have, and not just about figuring out what you can add on to what you're doing. Sometimes it's just taking stuff away too. So I hope this podcast was super helpful to you. I know it was a short one, but I think this one was an important one to say all these things on. I hope your New Year resolutions are going really, really well. I wish you a wonderful 2024. I'm excited to be on this journey with you. I'm so grateful that you tuned in and that you listened. So thank you so much, Yantaraj. Peace out.